ready for takeoff.
He's Metz. He's Tass. It's the Metzger Tassoul Show.
Hello, Mr. Shane.
Hola, Mr. Metzger.
Hola, huh?
Hola. Hola. How we doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, just fantastic.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. You ready to finally help some martial arts schools today?
Yeah, sure. No problem.
All right, go.
Okay, good. Call me.
All right.
Done.
Will you answer?
I always answer.
So anyway, we're coming to the end of the year. We're talking about how do you know if you're running a successful school? What are the metrics? Because I believe in this industry, there's people who they know they're not running a successful school based on how they define success. And then there's people in the industry that are running a very successful school. And then I think there's a lot of people in the middle that believe they're running a successful school because their needs are met. They're happy, they're comfortable, and that's okay. But I do think that sometimes people don't realize that based on what they could be doing, they're not maximizing the success, because I believe in our industry, a lot of people measure whether or not they're running a successful school, for the most part, solely on how many students they have. What say you, Mr. Shane?
I say, whatever you define success as is fine.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
No problem. So if that's 4 students that bring you bags of rice to your porch, I mean, that's cool. If that's what success is. On a serious note, I don't know how everybody defines success, right? God, I'm gonna say this like I'm an 80-year-old man, but as I get older, I think definition of success, I don't know that it changes necessarily, but there's definitely perspective on things, right? So we can just literally have this conversation with my mom last night, right? Like, I tend to define success based off of material things, right? As far as the goals that I set. And the reason is because I'm very shallow. No, the reason is because it's tangible. It's something that I can touch and feel and know that I've hit my goal, right? That's why I really had a hard time in martial arts with, I had instructors that did some Reiki stuff. I had some energy stuff. And I just, because it wasn't something I could touch, that I couldn't, not saying people can't, but I couldn't understand or touch and feel, or I didn't feel the heat in my hand from the person's body. Like, I'm like, this doesn't work for me. Right. So for me, setting my goals, and I, you and I have chatted about this a little bit. So I don't know that your goals necessarily are very, very public. They're more private, and they're more in your head, and you just take action on a regular basis to do those things, where I'm more of a visual guy. Right. So I'm the dream board, put it in my screensaver, put the reminders up to get the subconscious aligned, right, and do all those things. And everybody works a little bit and operates a little bit differently. So I don't know what that looks like to people, but I think that we all have something in common, which is we want to leave as big of an impact as possible. I think is if I was to summarize the goal of what martial arts school owners tell me, right? Well, I want to help. I want to have as big an impact in my community as possible. Well, Are you going to do that with 3 students, or is it going to be more of an impact with 30 students or 300 students or 3,000 students? So what do you want that impact and mark to be? And then how do you go about, going after it? And then are there excuses that are happening because we can't go from 30 to 300 or from 30 to 100 for that matter? And so then it's, well, I'm not going to commercialize. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to sacrifice and not have integrity in the art, because now things get difficult, right? And I've had this conversation, with my son, and he, we chatted a little bit yesterday, and he's going down to Atlanta, and he's, going out with going into a house with a bunch of what they call, what do they call them? Fresh fish. And fraternity brothers, basically door knocker. It's kind of like a door knocker fraternity. They're going to go knocking doors for solar and for security systems. And I asked him how his other thing was going. He's like, it's fine. Same stuff, different day. I said, well, you might go do this thing and you might fall in love with it. But tell me in 15 months from now, you're going to tell me same stuff, different door. Like, that's what you're going to tell me 15 months from now. And I had to remind him, like, being professional is really about, like, I compare it to a professional athlete, right? Like, if you're a wide receiver for a football team, you're getting paid millions of dollars to run the same route. Like, that's what your job is. You get paid millions of dollars to do the same thing every single game. And so sometimes success isn't sexy. Sometimes success isn't fun. Sometimes it can be boring. But at the end of the day, we have to keep doing the things that we need to get to where we want to go. Now, the caveat to that is this: what got you to where you are isn't going to get you to where you want to go. So those things that you're doing need to change if you're trying to get to a new level. And by the way, whether you have 50 students, because there's earmarks, right? What got you to 50 isn't going to get you to 100 or 150. What got you to 150 isn't going to get you to 300. There's certain earmarks and things that you need to do to hit those levels. And this is where sometimes the excuses happen, and we can make excuses and we can say, whatever we want. It's a McDojo. I'm not doing that, this, that, whatever. So I think success is relative. I think, I'd like to think that people that are looking for and want the help, we have it, we can give it to you, and we can help get you to that next level. Because I think, and Metz, I think you'd admit to the same thing. Like, I tried a lot of things and tried to fail on purpose many times, right? Fail forward. Like, I remember telling myself when I was in my 20s, like, I'm going to just try this because I've got a lot of time, a lot of years to make up for it if I make a mistake. And therefore, I made a lot of mistakes because I tried and experimented with a lot of different things. And part of the challenge was listening to too many people and trying to fit. I always use cars as an analogy, right? Trying to fit the BMW chassis with the Chevrolet motor, with the Kia frame. Like, it doesn't work, right? You can't take all these great things. Doesn't matter how great the companies are. You have to follow one system that really kind of puts everything together. So, successful schools, you got to, it's funny. I was just sitting down today and I was going through some numbers and I want to dive in a little bit further. So I'm literally going through on a monthly basis now, how many, like, what are the payment options that we offer? What percentage of our people are doing those payment options? Then I broke down all our colored belts, how many people we have at each color belt, what percentage that represents. I figured out what percentage of our student base, which, by the way, we're at 78.3 right now, is on an upgrade program. How many males, how many females, age breakdown, 7 to 12-year-olds, 4 to 6-year-olds, teens and adults. Why do I do that, right? Because I want to see the data so it can help me make decisions and figure out, well, what is it that we want to do and where do we want to go, right? And that's the power of, I hate aggregating, getting the data, but I've always said this, but I enjoy going through the data. So that's what I've been working on. But I think for a lot of people, that's where you need to start. You gotta, your gut could be right, but I think you need to trust and validate. Like, trust your gut, but validate with your numbers, validate with data, just to make sure that you're right. And if you're not, well, then what can you learn from that data to help you become more successful, if that's what your goal and that's what you're trying to accomplish is, right?
Great points. And as you were saying all those points, I couldn't help but think, I need a neck tuck or something. Sorry.
He's been measuring, and every day it's dropping a millimeter, and he needs to. I need to shave is what I need.
Here's the deal. Look, The success bar, if you're a driven individual, the success bar should be constantly moving. But you don't know what success is until you know what is possible. For us, here's the thing. Here's what I would say to everybody watching this. For example, success could be, look, I love doing martial arts for free for the community and I'm impacting thousands of lives. That's okay. Then that would be success.
Right.
But we are talking to schools that want to be financially successful, schools that may not only want to take care of the owner and the owner's family financially and give financial security, but also to potential black belts that we've raised that want careers, and I want to take care of them in a career and financially and be prosperous here, while at the same time affecting communities and people's lives in a positive way. That's who we are talking to here. So here's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, first and foremost, these are the numbers. I was doing it on the calculator. I mean, it is what it is, right? That's the number, 63. That's Tass's age next month. Congratulations. Happy birthday.
I look darn good for 63, baby.
But here's the deal. Take whatever you charge your students to train monthly, your basic program, someone enrolls. What is the fee that you charge? Not a family, not a second or third or fourth. One person joins. What is that basic fee? Without after school programs or summer camps, as far as after school pickups, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about evening programs. We are generating an additional, on average, $63 per month on top of that number per student that we have training in our school. Okay. So for us, and I'm using this as an example just because this is how we measure how we're doing. We know that's possible, right? So we charge a base rate of $169. So if I take $169 and let's say I have 200 students, well, that would equal $33,800 a month. Okay.
If everybody was on billing at $169 a month.
If everyone was just paying $169, right? But we're generating an additional $63 per person with the 200 students. So with 200 students,
12.6, what is that?
Times, I hit the plus. 200 students, we should be generating $46,400 with 200 students at a base rate of $169. Now, let's say you're at $100 a month. You charge $100 a month. Well, that additional $63 doesn't matter what you charge. So if you have 100 students paying $100, if we own that school, because we own 9 in Orlando, and I'm going to get to the point here. We own 9. So, and the average is the average for all 9. So they're all the, it is what it is. If I added a 10th, I would assume my average would still be where it's at. So if you're a school with 100 students and you charge $100 a month, if I own that school, I believe we would be grossing $16,300 a month. But am I satisfied with that? No, I believe we can do even more. Now there's people on here, as you say, that will justify and say, okay, well, I'm tuning off. This guy just nickels and dimes his people. Well, we've been in business since 1991 in the same community. I just believe that if we've been nickel and diming people for 33 years, people would catch on, I would think, right? But then you got to look at retention rates. And Tass, you and I talked about this. Our retention is actually pretty darn good if you calculate it the way the industry calculates retention rates, right? Like CRMs do. I believe CRMs calculate it. We don't calculate it like that, like a CRM, right? We're a little harder on ourselves when it comes to that. But my point is this. If your goal, how do you measure success? So sometimes somebody will say, yeah, we have 500 students and we're doing $50,000 a month. Well, that's $100 student value, or $100 on average with 500 students. That's not good. I guess that's successful, but that's not maximizing successful. So when we talk about What are the metrics? Well, the metrics are, well, tell me how many students you have. What are you charging? Do you have a family plan? What is that? What are you grossing? Where are you located? We know there's a saying in the industry, great location disguise mediocre people. Great locations disguise mediocre people. And when I say mediocre people, I don't mean the people themselves. What I mean is mediocre at maybe business systems. Like you just happen to open in a great spot. You don't have a lot of competition, or you have a very dense area, you have high income, and people that want to do martial arts are coming to you. And you might think you're very successful. And I'm not saying you're not successful. What I'm saying is you may not be maximizing your success, right? Can you take the same people out of that location into a C location, a location without a big density, without a high household income? And can they do the same thing they're doing? And I know the answer is no. The majority of them cannot, right? But then we talk about her all the time. We have the Denise Ramoses of the world in this little town in Oklahoma with a population of, what's the population, like 18,000, 16,000, do you know? And the household income isn't even 30.
Right.
Not even 30,000 household income. And she has like 6 other martial arts schools or something. And she would correct me if she's watching this, maybe more. But she's doing 40,000 plus a month average in this town, right?
Yep.
I don't believe people that even have 500 students that may be doing 80,000 a month in a very highly densely populated high income area, go throw them in that town. I don't believe most people would be able to do that. But this is how you measure. You measure success not by what you have been doing, but what are other people in the industry doing? And it's funny, I did some calls today with some clients, and one of the people said, wow, these are the details that I'm missing. And I was thinking, it's funny that they recognize that, the details, because it's like, I was thinking what I've said before. You teach martial arts, I teach martial arts. You do private lessons, I do private lessons. You do parent night outs, I do parent night outs. You have kids, I have kids. You have adults, I have adults. But why is it that we're doing 700,000 more a year than you? Well, let's look at your area. Wow, similar areas. We're doing everything the same. We think we are. But there's details. And the question is are people willing to say, maybe there's more? I mean, listen, let me just be blunt. It's not an opinion. I mean, at the end of the day, if there's other people doing more, look at the metrics. Where are they at? Find a school that's closely resembled is the area that you're in. And if there's martial arts schools doing better than you with students or financially or hiring people, stop making excuses. Why aren't you? And if you're not, it's okay. But if you want to be successful, realize that you could be better. There's something you don't know, right? And I think that's important, because what I don't like, or what I get tired of hearing, are people that just throw out parts of information to make the industry think that they have all the answers, because they're just taking bits and pieces of information and throwing it out there. If a school owner says we do over $1 million a year, we're a 7-figure dojo, everyone's going to think that's successful. Like, if you want to learn, I want to learn from that person. Maybe, but where are you located? What are you charging? How many students do you have to generate 7 figures, right? Those are the things that I think, those are the metrics to let you know if you're maximizing your success.
Yep, for sure. And, I heard it, I don't remember if this was Tony Robbins or who I heard it from, but, success is this island, right? And here's where you're at. I got to do this small because I'm on the screen. Here's where you're at. Here's where the island is of whatever success. And let me rephrase it. This is where you are, but here's the island of your potential, right? This is your potential. Success is how short you can make that bridge, right? So if I'm here and my potential is here as an example, right? Well, I'm a long way from being successful. but the closer I climb and rise to that potential and make that bridge shorter from where I am to my potential, right? That's what defines success. And I think for a lot of us, you know, there's a lot of us that have a lot of potential, right? There's some of us that, I'll be blunt, right? This is a hobby for some people and probably should stay a hobby for some people, right? But for those people that you feel like you've got that potential, you feel like you can get to that level. Well, what are you doing, right? And I say this all the time. Are you doing the same thing that you did last year and then the year before and the year before and the year before? Or are you learning and executing? And at some point, are you learning, executing, teaching others how to learn, teaching others how to execute? And now you start building and you're getting closer to your potential. Like that's really what it comes down to, because otherwise everything just stays the same. I mean, for a lot of people, and here's I think what the exciting piece is for those of you that, what I call dance the break-even line, right? What I mean by that is you play this dance. You open your school, you have your club, you open a commercial school, whatever it is. You went out, you got yourself X number of students. Doesn't matter what that number is. And those number of students, some months you make a little bit of money, some months you lose a little bit. Some months you make a little, some months you lose a little. It's this constant grind back and forth. But what maybe you've forgotten is how hard and what you did to go from $0 in revenue to X in revenue to make sure that we pretty much had our expenses covered on a monthly basis. We did whatever we needed to do to get to that level. And then we took a breath, and then that's really where we settle in. But here's the exciting part. So now you're doing this, right? Make 1,000, lose 500, lose 2,000, make 100, right? You're back and forth. And at the end of the year, you're like, well, damn, my martial arts school, I'm making this up. This is more for a lot of small school owners, right? But man, I only made $30,000. I only took home $30,000 from my martial arts school this year. Okay, cool. $30,000 is $2,500 a month on average. Well, some months you might take it in $3,000. Some months you lost 1,000. But here's what you need to understand. If you had the same drive to get you from 0 to whatever your active count is to get to that place you're at right now, where life is very frustrating, it feels like you're on the hamster wheel and it's the same thing. And it's kind of the same result every month. And it's been that way for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And you want to break free from that. Imagine you have 0 students in your school and you need to go enroll another 50 students in your school, because when you do that, right? When you go do that as an owner, right? And by the way, every owner on here should be able to take 50 more students without a whole lot of extra work or a lot of extra staff or help or team. There is a point that you need that. But if you did that, do you understand how much your life would be changed by just 50 more students? But we settle for this range that we're in. And how long does it take to get 50 students? Well, for me, that'd take 1.5 years. We only enroll 3 students a month. Okay, great. Well, it's going to take you longer than that with attrition if you only enroll 3 students a month. Why can't we wrap our head around this idea of, I literally, if I put my mind to it, I probably could go get 50 students in 1 month or 30 days. Like if I could compress that intensity, some of you go, well, that'd be impossible. Okay, great. But could you do it in 90 days? Could you go out and get 50 students in 90 days and just see what that does and see the impact that it has in your life? Because it would be a game changer for most of you.
Listen,
it really would be.
A lot of times, Tass, I'll bring up, I said this a few times now, Matt Brown, UFC fighter, just retired, probably will make the Hall of Fame. I mean, tough as nails. Look up the immortal Matt Brown from the UFC. He's in the pro. He works with, he's in the group. He's a client in the group, him and his business partner, Connor. Yep. And, he's driven now that the fight career is over, and he's really driven to provide careers for his coaches and fighters and stuff. But you know what he said to me, and this is interesting. He said, people would come up to me all the time and say, man, you're so disciplined training for these fights and running and cutting weight. He goes, I'm not disciplined. He said, I effing love this stuff, right? He goes, I effing love this stuff. I'm not disciplined. I love it. He goes, discipline for me is what you're teaching me now. It's going to take me discipline to look at numbers. I have these everywhere, like all the stats, right? These numbers. He goes, work on the business side of things. He goes, that takes discipline. And I just won't forget that, because not many people, especially like high level, world class UFC fighters, can admit that. Most of those guys
admit it,
would say, I'm a very disciplined individual, but
admit
he
it, or
understands.
may not even have the insight to even realize that.
That's correct.
That's the other part of it, right? They don't even know, like, not even being aware of that or mindful of that. Like, no, man, this is. I remember being there. We were in the diner, and I remember him saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is I think in our martial arts industry, in human history, with human beings in general, there's a reason why 1% of the population is at a very high financially successful level. There's a reason, because it's hard. It takes extreme discipline. We did not sign up to look at stats and numbers when we decided we wanted to be in the martial arts business. We did it because we love the martial arts. I don't want to do that stuff. I don't know. I think they'll just come eventually. Students will come. I'll keep and I think that's very difficult. That's a hard pill to swallow, that you got to do the other stuff, right? Number one. But then when you do the other stuff and you think you're doing it and you're not getting the result that you want, you give up to being comfortable. I'm fine. I mean, I have a good life. Bills are met. I'm good. And good is the enemy of great. And I guess, Tass, we are addressing the people that want to be the best they can be. That island analogy of potential and where you're at. Our job is to get you to reach and maximize your potential.
That's right. Get you the island.
We're not talking to the people who are just happy where they're at. That is not for our group. That's not for my client.
You touched on, you touched on this, right? But the question I would encourage you to ask yourself, everybody, is, are you really happy with where you're at? Or is it an excuse to make you feel better about where you're at? And I hope that people don't take that the wrong way, but look, it's really easy. And I've given this analogy 100 times. You walk into a beautiful big parade home, and you walk in and and you hear the people, oh my God, I would hate to clean this place. It's just way too big, right? That's one of them. Or who would spend $10,000 on a table for their house? Well, okay, that's a different lifestyle, right? And you can either be inspired by it, or you can be depressed by it. And I say most, I believe a lot of people get depressed by it because it's showing them something in their face that they realize that they can't have. Now, it's not that they can't have it, but they can't, with what they're currently doing in life, they can't have it. But if they change things, they absolutely could have it. And this is the idea of always having options, man. Like, it's always about having the options, And I was talking to my mom last night about this, and I just said, I said to her, as we were chatting, I said, I don't think I'm a high maintenance guy, right? Like, there are things that I want, but I'm not the guy who needs to get driven around in the back of a vehicle. I'm not the one who has to have a bazillion friggin' nice watches. I'm not the one who buys $300 shirts or $5,000 suits. Like, I'm not the guy that has a private jet or has to fly first class everywhere. That's not me, right? Do I have expensive taste in some things? Yeah, absolutely, right? And I enjoy those things. And so, again, but I have to check myself and go, well, am I saying that because I feel like I can't have the private jet, the private driver, the this, that? Or am I really satisfied, right? I'm happy. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied. And I think all of us have a little bit, different, like, what are our goals? Where do we want to be? And I think that's different for everybody. Some people can retire at $1 million and they'll be just fine, right? And they'll be just fine. Some people, it's going to require $10 million, right? Some people couldn't dream of haven't let anything less than 50 million. I mean, it's all perspective and it's all what you want to do. But at the end of the day, it's always nice. It's always nice to have choices, right? As opposed to being forced to do that thing because it's the only thing I can do. It's the only thing I can't afford. I would love to do that, but I can't. The feeling of seeing something that you really love and saying no to it, knowing that you can do it, is way better than the feeling of being broke and not being able to do it and saying no to it because of that.
100%.
Right? I mean, so true. Like, oh my God, I want the new Navigator. I don't need it. My car's fine right now. I don't need it. Right? Like, as much as I'd love to go get it, right? Like, I don't need it. My car's fine right now. Let me just keep driving my Denali and it's okay. Right? Like, that's better than being like, well, my Denali, I gotta go. Man, I'm broke right now. I gotta go buy a Kia. I'm just saying as an example, by the way.
Wow.
There's lots of nice Kias, by the way.
Wow. Yes.
Exactly. Right. So I gotta go buy a lesser expensive car, right? Because why? Because I'm broke. Well, that's not fun. That's not fun, right? I'd rather have. And then we somehow in our mind we're like, yeah, the gas was just too much in the big SUV, and this is gonna be way better on gas mileage. And the family's not as big anymore. It's just me and my girlfriend. And so we don't we come up when we justify with all of these things to make ourselves feel better. And I believe that happens in everything that we do. Right. And so you just be very mindful about what you're actually saying out loud, because you become a byproduct of the things that you do and the things you focus on. Right.
I just say this. Why everybody? Why would anyone want to just settle? Because it's hard. And if you want a driver, meaning a motivator, not a driver for tasks to sit in the back seat, a motivator, a driver, something that drives you. I found it. It's called level everyone else up and give everyone opportunity. And for me, we got, I think, 90 people that work in our companies, right? And my goal is to level them all up. But to do that, I got to maximize and scale the business in order to give them opportunities to level up and scale, right? And that will never end. That never ends. If it's for you, you may get to a place where you got everything you possibly want and need. And then it's like there's a depression. You're not driven as much because what else could I want? I have everything, But when you're doing it for other people, that driver never ends. And that's where I'm at as far as motivating. It's motivating for me to want to scale and drive and be better, because I always say this. I say this all the time. If you have if you're a great instructor and you keep your students, for the majority of your students, and you're getting black belts, people are getting to black belt, and 3 people walk into you. They did college. They were with you since they were 5. They're through college, and the 3 buddies that grew up together said, "Sir, you've changed our lives. We did college. We thought we were going to go into engineering or law or be a doctor or whatever, but our love and our passion is martial arts. And we were all just talking. We want to work for you and make a career in martial arts. We'd like to know if you can bring us on full time and give us a great career opportunity. Can you say yes? And if you can't say yes, why? Why wouldn't you want to say yes? Why wouldn't you want to say yes? Why wouldn't you want to give those students or anybody that opportunity to work for you, to have a lucrative, viable career in something they are extremely passionate about? That's what I don't understand, why anybody would want to not say yes to that. And by the way, I don't believe you. If you justify, I don't want staff. Staff's a headache. I don't believe you. I just believe that's an excuse because you can't afford them. You can't do it.
Right.
But what we're here to tell you is you can do it. Mm-hmm. You just don't want to do what it takes to do it.
And if you haven't done it, right, you may not realize how it actually makes you feel. Like I've used this before, right? I remember going to tournaments, and I remember doing very well at tournaments, right? Going to nationals, doing the whole deal. And then I remember having my students go to tournaments and then go to nationals and place at national tournaments. And I'm like, that made me feel way better than any trophy or medal I got. It was because when I trained somebody else and they were able to, and I could see how happy they were and how excited they were, like that for me felt amazing. it's no different than with our team right now. Like we had a tournament last week. We had, I think, 4 grand champions last week out of the 7 or 8 grand champions that were even eligible, right? 4 of our students took grand champions. And I'm sitting back and I'm going, dang, these freaking kids. Like one of the groups for the weapons group was all of our students, right? They were all competing for grand champion. They all took first in their divisions. Now they're all competing for grand champion. I'm looking, they're literally all of our students. And I'm watching some of these kids and literally I'm like tearing up because I don't work with these kids. That's our instructors and our like 17, 18-year-olds that have been working with these kids, and these kids are becoming rock stars and they're like the next generation. And I get to see it and I get to watch it. As a matter of fact, you know, one of our 18-year-old instructor, Abigail, she had made the grand champion round. She said, "Sir, can I just tap out?" She goes, I don't want to compete against all the students. I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. Like, who says that at 18 years old, right? Like, very admirable. She works with all these kids and helps all these kids. I said, no, you're going to stay in there and you're going to compete because you're going to enjoy being at the top of your game right now because you won't always be there. And these younger kids are going to take over your spot someday.
You are going to destroy them.
And that's what's going to happen, right? So, but it was just amazing to watch. And then I had to remind her about not only how she has performed as a martial artist, but how she's performing in her job and her role, how she's impacting, influencing these kids' lives at 18 years old. I'm just watching her develop these great martial arts students at 18 years old, and she's creating a following of people, right? Like that for me, like watching that happen and seeing that happen and knowing, well, I didn't train those kids, right? I don't get upset about that. I get emotional going, look at what we've created and look at the opportunity that we've created for other people to step in and other people to help out, and look how much we've evolved and how much better we've gotten as an organization. That's really fun. So if you haven't done that or tried that or had anybody that you've worked with, right, you'll hear horror stories of team members and staff members, right? Because it's just the easier thing to talk about, right? Sometimes we forget to talk about all the great team members and staff members that we have, the GOATs, the OGs, the people that put in and make us who we are today. And they're out there and you can find them. And when you do, you got to take great care of them and you got to keep them because they will cultivate the next ones to be just like that over time.
So just a quick question while you're talking about that. Anybody that's watching, can you just put in the comments if you have any full-time salaried team members or staff members that work for you, full-time salaried staff members? It's yes or no, but if yes, how many, right? Yes or no, and if yes, how many? I'd love to know for the people that are watching. And yes, we know our industry and we know that the majority of you don't want to comment, and it's okay too. But I'm just curious, and I don't even know if I'll even be able to see the comments. Are you able to see comments, Tass?
I cannot. No.
Oh,
sorry.
Well,
we might not even be live. We might have been talking this whole time and might not even been live.
Yeah, I can't see comments. So anyway,
that's all good.
But maybe they'll show up later. But here's the thing: if they are showing up, because I can't see if you're commenting that. But I want everybody else to look at that, even the people that aren't commenting, because I'm sure there are people that say, yes, we have 3, we have 5, we have 12, we have 2, we have 1, I don't know. And then the no. Well, that should just show you we're all in the same industry. We're all capable. We could do it. Do we want to? And I brought up the case of why wouldn't you want to? Oh, Michael Perry is walking in and we have comments. So I don't see anything here. Oh, Brian's walking in. I got the entire team walking in, converging.
Oh, there we go. No full-time employees for me. Gold medal, Saginaw.
That just, here it is. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so Miss Ramos said, having staff or a team, you don't pay them for your wages, you pay them for your freedom. I mean, it's funny, but that's true, to give you more life-work balance. But we got to give them the opportunity to have freedom as well. And you can't do that unless we have levels and they can scale as well. That's a career. And then we have, yes, I have 2, 3, 1. No, brand new. It's me, my teens, and me. Only part-timers, no. 2, no. 1 full-time non-salary, and there you go. So,
and as you say that, Metz, I want to remind everybody, right? Like when we say salary, because some people I think are going to be out here going, oh yeah, I know what you guys do, right? You might be thinking, oh, we just get them on salary so we can work them 60 and 70 hours a week. On the contrary, right? We're very, very adamant about the fact that we don't want them to work more than 40 hours when they're on salary. But there are times of the year that we say, you got to do whatever it takes to get the job done, right? So we're very, very mindful about that. And this is something that Metzger put in my head years ago. And I understand it, right? And because this industry is a little bit different, right? You've got the hours, you've got, the days potentially if you're doing Monday through Saturday, those types of things. It can be a little bit tricky or challenging, right? So we don't think about paying our staff so much for the time that they clock as much as we pay the staff for the results that they get. So if they can get those results by coming in at 2 o'clock and leaving at whatever time, and they've got a team to take care of it, and their results are where they need to be, there's no harm, no foul. But if the results dip, they're responsible to get the things back up to where they need to be. So that's the other thing I learned a long time ago. And I think there are people that need to be micromanaged, by the way. But also, I know Metz is a little bit more. Now he's got a team for this, right? He didn't years ago. He was the guy. But giving people things to, like, do they know the structure? Do they know what to do? Are they competent at what they're doing so they can have confidence in their job? And sometimes we just bring people in and they don't get trained. You tell them what to do. You think they know. They really don't know. And then they just get frustrated and flustered because they really don't know what to do. So you do have to spend time training and working with them. And this is one of the biggest linchpins I think that there is as far as getting to that next level is we don't take time to train our staff. We don't take that time to take one step back so we can take 2 steps forward. Most of us like, look, I'll just do it. I'll get it done. Let me just do it. Because you've done it so many times, you can get it done fast. But if you just stop, take a step back, and train your team on how to do it, it's going to take longer for it to get done. But now your team is trained, and you'll never have to do that again, right? You should never have to do that again. They can run with it because they've been trained properly, and then they can train the next person, and that's how a great team operates. But if you have people, I'll give you an example. I had Abigail send me a text message yesterday, and she took a screenshot. Dad said that they renewed last week on Monday, and now he's like, we shouldn't have renewed. We just got home from classes, and she told her mom that she didn't want to do karate anymore. She's like, well, how do I respond? So here's my question I always ask myself. Am I going to be the guy that's going to constantly just, here, let me send this text. And the next time, send this text. Like, I don't want that, right? So we come up with a system, which is about asking questions to the parent. Here's the text message that we reply with. Hey, so sorry to hear that. Can I get a little bit more information? We'll let us schedule time for you to come in so we can sit down and talk about it. So that will be now a standard operating procedure that's what goes out to that parent, right? If we ever have someone says, whatever, and I want to quit or my kid wants to quit, comes in a lot of different shapes and disguises. Well, what's the process and how are we going to handle that, right? And now there becomes a system on how we do things that everybody knows, hey, if you get this is what you do. That's step 1. This is step 2. This is step 3. And that's how it works. So guess what? They know now how to handle a cancellation from a parent if they want to cancel. They know the steps to go through to do that. And everybody gets trained on it. Everybody does it. And I should never have to deal with a text message from my team member again. Not that I don't want to, but also we all have to understand your team doesn't necessarily get you at your best 100% of the time. You may have had a long day and they're asking you a question and you're giving them the quick overview and you're not giving them the details. Matt said earlier, like, oh, these are the details I'm missing. Somebody tells them, right? These are the small details. Well, if you're too tired, you're too exhausted, you have to have your playbooks and your standard operating procedures done when you're sharp, when you're clean, when you're crisp. And when you do that, you train your people, you will go further and you will have people come along for the ride.
Well, there's levels. There's levels. So there's a lot of people here that have no people, right? So first and foremost, you got to get solid. You got to get yourself, your business, your school to take care of you. You got to get it solid. You got to build it up financially that will allow you to bring somebody on that you can provide a career opportunity to. As Miss Denise Ramos said, you know, not jokingly, but team members and staff will allow you to have more freedom for you. But then there's another level. You get to a point, you're paying someone and you think everyone's good, but it's temporary. That team member is going to come, and typically they come and they want to know how they can make more money. And then you find a way, you grow and you pay them more money. But then there's going to come a time where they're going to say, sir, ma'am, I can't do this and be here till 9:30 every night. I've been doing it for 10 years. 15 years. There's some people that don't mind that want to die on the mat, and that's okay, but that's a minority group. That's not the majority of people. So what are you going to do to give them freedom as well as financial security? And there's levels here, and you get comfortable. And if you are focused on helping other people, you'll never get comfortable. And I don't mean comfortable with your life. I mean comfortable just being where you're at. You'll be driven constantly to want to grow. And I'll read this from one of our team members, right? And you're going to know who this is, but I won't mention it. This was a text that he sent to myself and Mr. Silverman, Frank Silverman. Thank you both again for providing opportunities for growth. It's appreciated more than you know. I'm just a kid from a trailer park, so it's wild to reflect on the journey that led here. I thank you for trusting, believing, and valuing me as a teammate. Okay, not a staff member. We're a team. Right? I can't wait to see how much more impact we will make together. And this person in our company makes more than 99% of the owners in this industry. And they've been with us a long time. That text I keep. That drives me. That's what it's about. And I don't understand who wouldn't want to get a text message like that someday, right? That makes me happier than anything. But guess what? Today in my life, I have, you know, all these martial arts schools and schools around the nation and licensed locations, and we're doing consulting, but I got a pretty good balance. I'm traveling. I'm out of the country all next week. I get to do this, but I can't be greedy. That same person left this morning out of the country. They're gone. And I forgot. I didn't even know. Because I wanted to see if we could do a breakfast meeting this morning. And he's like, oh, I fly out in the morning. I'm like, oh, great. Have fun. Where are you going? I mean, I don't know when he's going to be back, to be honest with you. I don't know if he's back Monday, Tuesday. I don't know, and I don't care. It makes me happy. I want to provide that life balance for every single person that comes into this company. They got to earn it, though. The opportunity is there for them to get there. But they got to grind just like I had to grind. We all have to grind. But they'll get to the point where they'll have life work balance and financial security for their family. Who wouldn't want to provide that? My point is this. Where's the frustration coming from? We know how to help you. We know how to do it. We're not the only one. I would assume we are not the only ones that can help you with that. But all I can do is tell you what we can do. Do I want your business? Do I want to help you? Yes. Why? Because I also have a team that oversees the consulting and the licensing, and this is their path. And I want them to be successful, but not at your expense. I want to make sure that we make you successful, because if we're making you successful, they're going to grow and be successful. It's a win-win-win-win-win. But I understand the industry. I understand a lot of us are broke. And if you know that you got to pay for something, I know the first thing is I can't afford it. It's this, it's that. We've always helped people even free and given them free advice. But at the end of the day, is it an investment or an expense? You know, we do want your business. We do want to help you. We want to help the industry. And again, I'm at a point in my life where I can walk away from all of it and just go on with my life and enjoy. But that's not going to help my guys. That's not going to help you to help your future team. You know, so anyway, that's why I get so passionate about it, because I understand the skepticism. I understand everywhere you turn. Do I go with this group? Do I go with that group? Or are they all nickel and diming people? Or I don't believe what they do. And whatever the excuses and validations are, or justifications, or whatever it is. But I mean, if you're somebody that really wants to get text messages like that, provide more career opportunities. The other thing is sometimes you fool yourself when you have full-time salaried people. You think you're providing a career, and you're not. You're providing a job. And if you went out of business tomorrow, most people in the industry that have a career with you, it wouldn't be hard to replace that income. They could just go somewhere else. Well, my people can't just go somewhere else because it'd be very hard to find jobs that pay what they're getting, along with the life-work balance, the culture, the passion of martial arts and changing people's lives. It'd be very hard. So we all care. We all have the same goals, and we are a team. It's not like I get to make all the money and have the freedom and you don't. That's not how we work, right? But that's other things that we teach anyone that's in our family with MAIA, right? So I just wanted to leave with that text message to let you know, I think everybody would want to have that and provide that and give that opportunity. So don't make it all about you. Don't ever say, well, I don't need that. I'm good where I'm at. It's not about you. What about the next guy that you're your student that wants to work for you? It's about him or her.
Right. Yep. Agreed. And, do you want to talk about the election at all?
Which one? Amendment 3?
Yeah, you didn't know. Okay.
Amendment 3 in Florida?
No, we don't have to talk about the election. But why I'm bringing this up is some of you will use the election as an excuse as to why you can't grow your business, right? And again, that just becomes another excuse. And so I would encourage you, plan out your 2025 now. Take steps towards that now. Don't wait till January 1st or 2nd or 3rd of 2025. What does it look like when it's done? What is the vision of your martial arts school? Man, that's 250 students doing 50 grand a month at this location. Okay, great. Or it's 1,000 students, or it's 6 locations, or it's whatever it is for you. What is that vision? And then reverse engineer it to figure out how are you going to go from where you are to get to where you want to go, right? And then there's got to be the why behind it. Why is that so important to you? And if you do that, you said this earlier too, right? Like there's power in having fun in the journey, right? And you hear this expression sometimes, and maybe you don't always know what it means, right? Because maybe you haven't gotten to the destination, right? But this is the importance of setting and getting goals, and always setting a new goal and getting a new goal. Is the fun is in the journey. The destination's cool, right? You get the new boat, the new car, and it lasts for a little bit. And then that kind of just goes away. You're like, okay, I got the car, I got whatever it is. I got it. Now what? Well, you need another journey. Like, what's the journey? Where am I going next? And if you don't have that, it can be very hard, and it can feel like Groundhog Day every day for you. So I would encourage you to figure out where it is that you want to go, create the map and the journey and how to get there, and then enjoy the process. It's going to be hard. There's going to be things that don't work. You're going to try a marketing campaign, and you should be able to sit back and laugh at it when it was miserable and it failed. Like, laugh at it, learn from it, and move on. Don't take things so serious all the time. Like, literally enjoy the process, because you will be more magnetic if you do that, right? Than if you're just always frustrated. You're always looking to get the next student enrolled. Like, all of a sudden it feels desperate. And I say this all the time. Detach yourself from the outcome, regardless of what happens. Oh, I lost a student. No big deal. I'm going to get a new one. It's fine. Not a problem. Like, don't worry about it so much, because when you attach yourself to the outcome, most of us come across as desperate, right? You want to come across from a place of abundance where you have everything you want and everything that you need. Detach yourself and watch what starts to happen. By
the way, that doesn't mean don't care about that student that you lost. That's not what he's saying.
Correct.
Right? Correct. It's don't let that bog you down, frustrate you, burn you out, and put you in a depression to where you're just wanting to give up. Right?
That's right.
So focus on the positive. Focus on the possible, everybody. Focus on the possible. So with that, we appreciate you tuning in. And thank you, Wisconsin. Nice job the other night.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Speaking of.
Only kidding.
All right.
Anyway.
He's talking about the Packer game. He was glad Detroit won.
Oh, my God. Detroit looks strong. Anyway, we'll talk. Here comes Brian. That's my time, folks.
All right. You guys have fun. Appreciate everybody. Have a good weekend.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Thanks. Bye.